Hello, my name is Carl Surrey and this is a video tutorial for the Facebook group called Fans of Serif Software. Now in this tutorial I want to look at adding a false black and white sky to this image. I could add a false sky to this from a color image and then turn it black and white, or even from a black and white sky once I've turned this black and white. But the whole point of this video is to show you quite a neat little trick which I saw in a Photoshop tutorial, and I'd never seen it done this way before, so I thought I'd give it a go and show you this sort of quite neat way of doing this. So first of all, it does help if you have an image like mine here where you've got absolutely no sky at all, because one, it was a pretty rubbish day, and also because I was trying to get as much of the church bright, I had sort of overexposed to get the church, which was in shadow, to be showing in the image that I then blew out the sky. So like I said, this does work. This trick only really works in black and white, so we need to change this to a black and white image, and to quickly do that I'm just going to add a hue saturation layer, and then I'm just going to drop the saturation right down to 0, which will make this black and white. How you do this on your particular image is up to you, but I'm going to just tinker slightly with the lightness on my image just to bring a little bit of contrast in this church area. But like I said, it depends on your picture and whether you tinker with the lightness or not. So there we have our image in black and white, and now what we need to do is to add a new blank layer. So just click on the icon down here and this will open up a new layer. Just click OK, and this layer is now been added to the layer display area, and it is blank. It's got absolutely no pixels on it whatsoever. So what I'm going to need now is the rectangle selection tool, and I'm just going to draw a rough shape. Doesn't really matter what size it is because we're going to be altering the size and what have you anyway. But into this is where the sort of neat trick happens, because in the tutorial I watched they used a filter which in Photoshop and Elements is called clouds. Now there isn't a filter effect here called clouds in PhotoPlus, but they do. If you come down to other and to plasma, you get something that is very similar to the clouds filter that's in Photoshop. Now you've got two sliders, grain and seed. Let me just bring this a little bit closer to the image. Now the grain would just, if I bring it right down to 0, it's just a continuous like grey. But if you move it further to the right, it breaks up that greyness, and you've got different levels of black showing through. Now the seed one is where most of the dramatic effects happen, and it's very random the effect you can have no matter where you slide it. I mean, as you can see, if I quickly slide along here, the effect that is having. So you've got no, I can't tell you a good place to put this as regards whether it's up or down the scale. It's a case of you just slowly moving it along until you get a sort of effect that you like the look of. As most of my sky area is over here on the left. I'm going to try and find a sort of a good effect that's mainly affecting the left side of my selected area. So this is where it can get a bit hit and miss, but you can also alter again. It won't alter the actual position of the black holes shown through the clouds, but you can alter the grain I should say, and how much cloud you have available there. So I'm going to just stick with that and click OK. Now we need the deform tool, and I'm just going to fill up this whole area. And you want to come over slightly the area of the building or whatever it is that you have on your picture. And I am also going to hold down Control, Shift and Alt all at the same time, and I'm going to grab this corner one here, and it will bring out the top left and right just to stretch it out slightly, and I can just reposition it and however you think that works. Now because this is on another level, we can now blend this in to the images below, but choose multiply blending. So now you can see what this sky will start to look like, and you can move it around a bit to see what works for your image. Once you are happy, you can come off the deform tool. I'll just go back onto the rectangular tool and then press Ctrl and D to get rid of the selection area. Now what we need to do now is to add a layer mask to this layer, and the layer mask can be added down here in this icon that says add layer mask, and as you can see the layer mask is just white at the moment, and what we're going to do is we're going to paint black on it to take off the cloud effect from the buildings. So make sure that the little white line going round the outside is on the layer mask, so that is the part of this layer we are working on. And then make black is your foreground colour. Get your paintbrush. Now you can I would start quite high with the opacity and then just start painting black over the majority of the areas. Don't go too close at this opacity anyway. Just come close to the edge. Get rid of the hard line of the selected area, and when you got close to the edge, I'd bring the opacity right down to around 10% or so, and then you can just paint over the edge and bring back some of the edge of the building without affecting the sky too much. You may have to go over it a few times because of the opacity of the brush. You can also go over the cloud area to maybe tone down some of that as well, depending on how much of this sort of cloud effect that you want. I'm not going to say this is ideal for every picture, but it is a very quick way of just adding a bit of sky and texture to a black and white image. If I hold down the Alt key and just click on the bottom hide icon, that is where we started, and that is where we are now. I mean, I could carry on just tinkering with that, but because of the changing this to a black and white image just by using the hue saturation slider, it has made the whole image a bit dull, lack of contrast. So just quickly, I'm going to use the burn tool just to help bring a bit of contrast back into the image. So to do this, I will need to work on an individual layer rather than all these separate layers. So you could flatten these to carry on, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to layers, select all, then edit, copy merged, and back to edit, and then paste as a new layer. So now that new layer has the image made up of all these layers below it, if you understand what I mean. Now I need the burn tool, which is in this menu here, which normally I think by default starts out as a red eye tool, but the burn tool is this hand sign here, and I'm going to work on the shadows. Now you do want a very low exposure. I think PhotoPlus and Elements are probably a bit more tolerant than PhotoPlus is, because the tutorials I've seen, they sort of say make the exposure about 10 or so, but I've tried it on 10 and it still has a dramatic effect. So I have mine quite low on 2, and then I'm going to start working on the shadows first. Now the burn tool will make areas darker, so I want to add some darkness in to the stonework and around the building. I'm not going to affect this area too much because that is already quite dark. Now you may think that not a lot is happening here, and at first glance it probably, you may feel that not a lot is happening, but if I just turn off this layer, hopefully you can see the effect of what it is I've done. It's only a very subtle effect we're having on the image, just to help bring a bit of contrast back. So again, I'll just have a quick look at what that looks like. I'm now going to change from shadows to midtones, and I'm just going to darken some of the midtones as well. This is all very sort of subjective to your tastes and your image, but it's just adding a bit of, I don't know, interest to the image, or rather than just having a flat image, black and white image. So let me just quickly turn that on and off. Right, let me turn it back on again. But hold down the Alt key and click on the bottom hide and show button. That was the color image with no clouds, and that's the black and white image with clouds and a little touch of burning as well. I could use a bit of dodge to brighten things up. The dodge tool is this sort of microscope one here, and if I was going to use that, which I'm not going, I will demonstrate it, but I'm not going to keep it. It's best to sort of duplicate this layer here and use dodge and burns on different layers, mainly so you can see the after effects without affecting what you've done previously with the burn tool. So if I just quickly rename that, so that was the burn layer, and this will be the dodge layer. So I work on the dodge layer using the dodge tool. See, this will brighten up areas. So I could brighten up the shadows down here, and again, like, the exposure is very low, but already hopefully you can see how much that is brightening this up. So if I turn that on and off, you can see that even at exposure of 4, that is probably too much, and I personally don't like it, which is why I'm not going to keep it for this particular image. I mean, very rarely I use the dodge tool. If anything, I think the burn tool gives you much more dramatic effect, feeling. I can't think of a good word for it, but so I'm going to delete that dodge tool, and I prefer it like that. So I hope you like that effect, that this using the plasma filter can give you a feeling of some clouds in the sky, but it does only work in black and white because the plasma effect is black and white. So all you need to do then would be to merge your layers, come down to merge all. You have all your layers. Now it's just one image, and then you can go ahead and save it. And that is the end of this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.